Welcome back. It's another Friday, and around this time, I'm going to be serving you my blunt thoughts. I have a bumper breakfast ready for you as I talk about different matters of national scope, companies exiting Ghana and why, the EC and everything that is happening in between, and the SML report by KPMG. That's why I've titled my blunt thoughts this morning, A Rabid Economy, a report shrouded in secrecy and an embattled EC, wahala day. A rabid economy, a report shrouded in secrecy, and an embattled EC, wahala day. Even before I get to the slides, now, in recent times, we've heard of Dr. Stephen Amoah, who is a deputy minister at the Ministry of Trade. He's now been designated a deputy minister of finance and everything in between. Say that Ghana is the best place to do business on the continent. Come to Ghana. But at the same time, you would hear the likes of Professor Mensah talking about the uncomfortable economic situation in the country. In fact, the likes of FABAG, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, has said that a lot of these entities are exiting because of the stifling economic situation. You look at the economic indicators and wahala day on all fronts. What are you looking at? The cost of, products or the cost of raw material? Are you considering the exchange rate? Are you considering taxes? It's a potpourri of negatives. But in the midst of all of that, we really need to address why some of these entities are leaving the country. Some have come out to say, like a certain bank has come out to say that from the top, well, there is no such communication. But how about the others? What exactly is happening? Come with me. So you look at these 8 multinational companies that have left Ghana since 2022, about 8 of them. Let's look at the tail of the tape. Next slide. So date of exit, May 2024, you're talking about Glovo. They are into delivery service providers, and they cite a difficult business climate in terms of profitability. March 2024, Unilever, the Lipton tea production section. Economic challenges is what they cited. December last year, Nivea, skincare products, that's what they are into. They cite taxation and operational costs. Now, pay attention, because these things they are mentioning can hobble any company. And if they hobble a company, mind you, these entities are not here to do charity. They are here for profit. And your system must be enabling enough to ensure that while they're creating jobs and paying taxes, they are also able to make profit, right? Early 2023, Jumia Food, the food delivery service, gone. Operational and macroeconomic challenges. March, BIC, stationery. And they cite economic pressure. Okay, next slide. Then you look at some others, the precise date of exit, not concrete, but Dark and Lovely, and you know them, hair care products, and they cite a hostile economic environment. Bet365, a betting company, unsustainable tax burden. That's what they cite. So again, the matter of taxes comes to the fore. And then Gain, we all know them, retail shops. They left, the South African entity. Financial challenges. All of these can't be happening for nothing. Something must be going on. And those things are what the likes of Professor Lord Mensah and others have been addressing. How are we resolving this? So on one end, when the Deputy Minister Designate for Finance says it's the best investment destination, the other question is, how are we trying to maintain that, even if that were the whole truth, right? Next slide. Then you look at investment destinations in Africa, Ghana's position over the years. This is why it's even more worrying. 2019, 6th, 2020, 3rd, 2022, 2nd in 2022. But it's in 2022 that the downward spiral started, which is why it is of crucial concern, because if when we place 2nd, these companies started exiting all the way till now, what it means is that positioning, that locus, that opportunity, right, is slipping past us. And of course, when companies exit, they look for the next market that will suit their purpose, which means you lose the benefits to another economy. Let's go to the next slide. But having focused on that, I'm going to turn my gaze briefly to the GRA SML contract, the KPMG report, and everything in between. I've shared my thoughts on some of these, but I just want us to quickly look at some of the timelines after President Akufo-Addo's request for an audit. So, 2nd January 2024, the president assigned KPMG to audit the deal. 27th March, KPMG submitted an audit report to the president. It took them about almost 3 months. 24th April, the president acted on recommendations given by KPMG, giving us a white paper. 24th of April, the Media Foundation for West Africa, and when we say acted on recommendations, like I said, they gave us a white paper because, as has been intimated, the recommendations of KPMG were more stiff, dire, far more dire than what we have seen in the white paper. And the question is, why are we treating this with kid gloves? Why sugarcoat it if it is bitter? Then the Media Foundation for West Africa puts in a request for the audit report, and the president responds rejecting the RTI request for the KPMG report, citing confidentiality and the presidency, some matters of state security and all that. Next slide. And then this is what the presidency cites. Based on Section 51A and B1 of the RTI Act, now, request for KPMG audit report is refused. Full report comprises opinions, advice, deliberations, and recommendations that are integral to the president's deliberative process. The president has published principal findings and recommendations of the KPMG report. So, guess what? Case closed. That's what the presidency is telling us. Next slide. But what have some reactions been to this? And there's one in particular that is really important to me because it's always good to look at the past, right? Manasseh Azuri-Awini says, even when we did not have the right to information law, President John Mahama released a white paper and released the full Jada report as well. Do you remember Jada? The Akufo-Addo-led opposition MPP was the loudest in asking President Mahama to release that report, which was also a subject of my investigation in 2013. White paper, full report. We all know, unless you were not in this country, of what that Jada report, how the NDC was pilloried, and I was part of the pillorying. I was. But the report was released to us. Different strokes for different folks? I don't know. Next slide. What is Akufo-Addo hiding from us? Manasseh asks. The SML deal stinks. If they think hiding the KPMG report will make us forget the SML scandal, they should think again. The SML scandal will not die. But let's look at more. Professor Asari says, an audit report is a public record, not privileged advice to the president. Public record, not privileged advice to the president. KPMG is a fact finder, not a presidential advisor. I love how succinctly he addressed these concerns. Professor Kweku Asari. Next slide. You have Benjamin Boakye as well saying, I am frozen. KPMG deliberated with the president on the audit. So there are too many loose ends. And as a media person, I cannot hesitate or fail to keep asking myself, why? Maba, what is in there that we cannot see? What is it? I'll leave you to reflect on that. But let's go to the next batch of items I want us to look at briefly. Now, there has arisen that issue between Imani Africa and the EC, but there's also the NDC, the most recent one, about some of these, the equipment used and then serial numbers and all of that. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just focusing on Imani Africa and the EC. So fire sale of electoral equipment for scrap. That's what Imani has been saying. But there are some interesting bits. Let's go to the next slides very quickly. The EC says the sale was legal. It says it auctioned the obsolete 2012 equipment and it was done transparently with all legal procedures strictly adhered to. The proceeds from the auction were duly deposited in the consolidated fund. But is that the end of the story? Next slide. Imani says, why would anyone be interested in purchasing 10 used biometric devices designed specifically for electoral purposes? I am interested in this question. Why would anyone be interested in purchasing 10 used biometric devices designed specifically for electoral purposes or processes? Why? Do you know? I believe we've come to the end of the whole shebang, if you like. Why? That's what I want to leave you with. So ponder. The GRA SML deal. Why can't we have the report? These equipment, biometric devices. Why would any entity not go for a new one, but go for an old one, and everything in between? There are lots of questions, lots of things to contemplate. And of course, another why. Why are these companies leaving Ghana? Because like it or not, our economy as it stands hinges on some of these developments. As always, I'll lay bare the issues. You read between the lines and decipher what must be deciphered. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I love Ghana. I'm passionate about Ghana. And no one ought to be fleeced. The truth must be said. It reminds me of my former hall at the University of Ghana. Truth stands. And that truth must always come out of our lips and out of our hearts. Let's speak the truth. Bite the bullet. And who knows, maybe Ghana will be a better place. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. As always, I pray that God will bless Ghana and make her great and strong.